Darkness, 10, 9.
You're listening to the Launchpad Podcast with J-Man.
Brought to you by Gallant Media.
2, 1.
Here's your host,
Ignition.
J-Man.
Hey, how you doing? J-Man here, and you have it locked to the Launchpad Podcast. You can find it online at the launchpadpodcast.com, and you can subscribe at youtube.com/JManIsAlive. I'm very happy to have this guest on the program. He's an Ottawa native. He's won a Grey Cup. He's an academic, and he is now an entrepreneur, and I can't wait to talk to him about his strength and conditioning, as well as his nutrition background. We have Pat Woodcock on the program. How you doing there, brother?
I am doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to start off with your time in Ottawa. Now, I've talked to other players that played in Ottawa, and they don't have too much great things to say in regards to their tenure there. What was your experience like here in the nation's capital playing football?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a tale of two sides of a coin, I think. The football side of it was a battle, and, we didn't win a lot of games, and, obviously management was what it was. But at the same time, it was always a dream of mine to come back and play for the hometown team that I sat in the stands cheering for, and to be able to play in front of family and friends who supported me forever. And the reality is there's more guys that I keep in touch with today from that team than any other team that I played on. So there's pros and cons, obviously, in every situation. The football side of it was definitely challenging, but I have a lot of great memories from it at the same time.
And what do you think ties you together with the people here from Ottawa and those teammates opposed to all the others?
Struggling through adversity together.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sticking together and trying to keep each other up and keep each other motivated, and a lot of times those bonds of brotherhood are forged in times of toughness, and that was definitely, from a football perspective, that was definitely a challenging couple of years.
Right. And interesting, you say through adversity, right? Because there's obviously growth in adversity. What would be the one life lesson that being on that team in those years taught you?
I think it's just that, seasons come and go. And I mean, football is obviously a perfect analogy for that. When the season ends, you have a fresh opportunity in the next season. But that applies to life as well, too, right? We go through different seasons in life. Some are going to be really good. Some are going to be a little bit down, but it's never going to stay the same all the time. You always have an opportunity to kind of get a fresh start, and come back out from that adversity, hopefully stronger than when you went in.
Right. Okay. You're such a well-spoken guy. I knew you're the right guy. I wanted to talk to you for a while, so I'm glad this is happening.
I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. Well, also, it comes down to, academics as well. So you went to Syracuse, and you graduated with honors. Yeah, with a grade point average above 3. Yeah, I think I scraped by with a 2 in radio broadcasting. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I mean, it's, grades are grades, and, there's something to be said for those, but as you well know, they're not the be all and the end all. And, people learn in different ways, and there's lots of different ways to educate yourself beyond just, going to school. But, that said, school was always kind of a strong point of mine. I took it seriously, and I found it challenging, but in a good way that I wanted to excel at it the way I did with anything else.
Right. Now, I'm curious, with football being kind of like, the brawn stuff, right? Is there something in there? Like, would you get razzed or teased by teammates for being, the intelligent guy on the team, like the guy that was superseding beyond sport?
No, not at all. I mean, I wasn't the only one. There's lots of guys who were good in academics. There's lots of guys at both ends of the spectrum, of course. But no, not at all. I mean, I think a lot of guys respected that fact, the way that I was able to kind of do a little bit of everything, and that's partly probably why I was named as a captain as a senior, just because I kind of had everything kind of in a row, and was trying to be at my best in all avenues. So, but there was a guy that I played with that's a doctor now, so I wasn't the only one.
Right. So you had a pretty successful run. You had some really great stats. You were known for being one of the fastest guys in the league. Your average yards per catch on 2 occasions, I believe, led the league.
Right.
I know for 1 year for sure. I think it was 23.9.
Yeah, something around that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to brag, but and you
well,
saw
when you're the smallest guy in the field, you got to be able to run away from people, right?
Right. It's better than me. I just turtle. I turtle.
Yeah.
And you saw success very early on in your career winning a Grey Cup. And not only that, there's a lot of people that just play in Grey Cups. You were part of that Grey Cup. You had a big 99-yard reception as well. You got MVP honors. What was it like to have success that early in your career, that level of success that people can only dream of?
Right. Obviously, from right at that moment, it was amazing, right? It was kind of the culmination of a lot of dreams from back in the day when I was a little kid and dreamed of, winning a Grey Cup and winning the championship and scoring a big touchdown, all those things that you think about when you're running around in the backyard by yourself, as a young kid and dreaming of those things. It was fantastic and it was awesome. It was a great way to kind of kickstart my career. At the same time, I think because I was on such a good team those first few years, it created an unrealistic expectation that, hey, we can get to the Grey Cup anytime we want. We can just go, we can do this whenever, do 2-3 more times and that kind of stuff. And the reality is, everybody has a chance every year. And depending on what team you're on and how things are going, you may only get 1 or 2 opportunities at it. So it was obviously great to be in it. And I had a chance to play in 2 and win 1. But obviously I would have liked to hit a couple more as I went along.
Right. So you fulfill those childhood dreams, and let's speak about that childhood, like what football meant to you. Were there other sports that you were also involved in, and this is just the one that you decided to go with? Speak to me on that.
Yeah, I loved in high school. I really loved playing basketball, and I always loved track. I still love track. Loved doing that in high school as well. But football, like that was kind of our house's, like that was the sport. Like my parents both played touch football when I was growing up. We always watched the CFL. That was, they watched that over the NFL. So I was just surrounded by football all the time when I was a kid. So it was just kind of a natural, I think, progression for me to kind of get into it as soon as I could. And then obviously I was relatively good at it when I got started, and, you have success and you want to keep going and those type of things. So, obviously I was better suited as a football player than as a basketball player. And certainly track as well. Like I was good in high school, but I wasn't going to progress very far beyond that in track and field. So thankfully my skill set, lent itself to continuing to improve as I got older and through college and the pros, and allowed me the opportunity to keep playing as long as I could.
Right. And interesting dynamic. I was listening to another podcast, Matt Hatfield, and
yes,
you were talking about your love for the CFL, and the Grey Cup was a really big deal in your family. And I thought it was really interesting because, as we spoke before we started to record, for everyone generally starting off in football, the goal is to play in the NFL, which you did, right? And of course,
right.
Winning the Super Bowl. But the Grey Cup for you was kind of that was the pinnacle.
Right. And I think maybe that's probably just a function of, like I said, the way my parents watched football. The CFL was better than the NFL in our house, and the Grey Cup was a more important day than the Super Bowl day in our house. So for me growing up, that was just always the thing, the Grey Cup, the Grey Cup, the Grey Cup. And so that just kind of becomes ingrained in it, right? And you become a football player, and you're obviously in a CFL city, so you have the hometown team, right in front of you, and you kind of get attached to that. And that for me was always like you said, the pinnacle. And the NFL really didn't even enter my mind until I was a couple years into college and starting to have a little bit of success, and oh wow, that might be a possibility.
Because that wasn't the norm then for CFL players or Canadian players to be playing in the NFL. So who dropped that in your ear, and was that something that you believed to be a reality? Was that something that you were manifesting, or were you surprised that was something that was going to happen for you?
I think it was just a matter of those first couple of years when I started playing and having some success and obviously contributing as a receiver on the team, you see your teammates getting drafted and, okay, well, if he got drafted, like I'm pretty close to him. And so I can probably do this. And well, he's playing for a few years and I played against him. So I know I can beat him a little bit. So, it just kind of enters your mind as you go along. At least it did for me, because like I said, I didn't have that idea when I first went to college. It was more just earn the scholarship and see what happens. And then, gradually you have success, and nobody came out and said, you can do this. It was more a case of, like I said, you see some other guys doing it, you see some teammates doing it, you figure, well, I'm kind of on the same level as those guys are. So let's make this a new goal and go after it.
Right. Okay. And I'm glad you said that, because that segues nicely into mindset. And
yes.
Maybe this is a little bit on the side, but I think it's really important. And I always like getting inside an athlete's brain, especially when you have a level of success, that you have. And ego must be something that's hard to keep in check, right? There's regular people. Let's just be realistic, right? There's regular people and then there's pro athletes. And you're a pro athlete, and you had to have noticed along the way that there's a way that you're treated that's differently than others. I went to a semestered school. So I had a lot of the Ottawa 67s go to my school. And,
right.
Not to call anybody out, but I think the guy's name was like Blallen McLaughlin. And he never showed up to school. Like, the guy was always on crutches. He never showed up to school, but he graduated. Brian Campbell was another one of those individuals, right? So some people kind of get a little bit of a free ride. Obviously, you did not. So what was it like separating who you are from, your ego, and not letting the ego take control?
I think that really comes down a lot to the people you have around you. So, my family, and, I've been with my girlfriend since high school, now my wife, and my friends that I've had, since I was in high school and stuff. They did a great job of keeping me grounded and not letting me get out of control. And I don't think I ever really did get out of control, but just, I think when you have people around you that treat you the same as you were before, they don't treat you any different because you've achieved this or done that. That goes a long way in terms of, keeping yourself in check. And I think just the understanding from my perspective too, as a kind of an underdog type of football player, it can be gone at any moment. So it's never a case of where I don't have to put the work in, or I don't have to show up on this day. I can just, skate by. That was never a reality for me. Every day I had to show up and work harder than the guy next to me, because, I wasn't the biggest guy. I could run fast, but, I always felt like they were looking for somebody to take my spot unless I proved to them that I was the guy.
Right, right. So you come across as one of these individuals then that understands the importance of having a good circle, and maybe from a very young age. Are you someone that has kind of the good friends that you had when you were a teenager, are kind of people that are still in your life now?
Yeah, totally. Like I said, my wife, we started dating in high school and we've been together ever since. One of my best friends that I talked to today, he was one of the best men at my wedding. And like, we started playing football together, I think when I was 15 or 16, and his dad coached me when I was like 10. So I've known him forever. It's a lot of the same guys, one of my very first roommates at college, that's one of the guys that I keep in touch with the most today. So it's not about having a huge number. It's about having the right number and having the right people around to that bring value to your life, and don't bring negativity, and that accept you for who you are and don't expect you to be the football star all the time, or this guy or that guy. Just, hey, it's just Pat, and we're cool with that.
Yeah. Who were some of your mentors?
You know what? I think, early football coaches were really big for me, in terms of learning how to, I think treat people, and, early on give me a love of the game and a love of hard work. Certainly my parents were big. They always worked hard and were able to sacrifice certain things to make sure that we had what we needed in terms of getting me to football practices and all that kind of stuff. And then, when I was in high school, I actually had a football coach who had played NCAA football, and he was the first one that kind of put the bug in my ear that, hey, you know what, like, you're you're a pretty good football player right now. You have this potential to go get a scholarship and play in the NCAA and do this. And so that was huge because I had honestly never thought of doing that. At the time, I was thinking I was like 14 or 15. And so that, like I said a few minutes ago, that then became the goal that I was now going to go shoot for.
Right. And so were you into personal development and reading books and stuff like that throughout your career or on route to your career? Are there some people that you can attribute some of your success to in regards to the knowledge that you've gotten from books?
I wouldn't say I was really into reading about that stuff. I think I always, I just kind of had a drive to never be satisfied with where I was. Like I said, I've always kind of had that bit of an underdog mentality. And so I was never satisfied with where I was and always wanted to keep improving. And I guess the one guy, not that he's in that situation at all, but the one guy I always kind of looked at was Michael Jordan. And I think it's just the fact that he was the best player in the world and yet was still the hardest worker in the world. And so that kind of thing, I was like, well, I'm nowhere close to the best player in the world, so I better be the hardest worker in the world.
Yeah. There's a work ethic that you guys have as pro athletes, and you're probably the third or fourth that I've spoken to, and all champions as well, and high performers like yourself.
Right.
And they all have the same answer to that question. And I think, number one, because you're self-starters, right? You're just innately motivated to want to do better because you know that someone else can take your job. It's a simple, you could be a great player, go down with an injury, and you just never get your job back. And we see that happen all the time. And if anything, instead of going to books to find that knowledge, they find it amongst their own, right? You're actually the ones, you're kind of writing the books for other people. Individuals are looking up to you as being leaders, right? And people that they idolize, they want to catch that game-winning catch, they want to get that 99-yard reception in the Grey Cup, right? Like, isn't that cool that you go from being that kid that wanted to do that to having other kids out there now wanting to emulate what you've done?
Yeah, it's a super cool kind of full circle deal, and when you're able to meet kids and a lot of them now have had the opportunity to come up, right? I'm old enough now that some of those kids are now at that age where they're getting scholarships or playing in the pros and that kind of stuff. So we actually have a picture in our facility of when I think it was 2002 or 3. I did a practice with the pros thing, and so it's a football camp for kids for the day, and I have a picture with a kid, and then he then became an athlete who came and traded our facility and, went to Western University and then played for the Red Blacks and played for the Argos. And so it's been cool to see. We have a picture of him when he was a little kid, and then now he towers over top of me, about a foot taller than me in his pro uniform and that kind of stuff. So it's super cool to have experiences like that and see how you've, maybe inspired somebody to do great things with their own life.
Yeah, man. I mean, I used to watch you play. Right? Like, that's some cool shit. I fanboy out a little bit every time. I can't lie. Now, if you could go back, it seems like, you enjoy the mentoring aspect of what you do and giving back. You're a family man. We're going to get into that. And you're basically your football team that you've created on your own. If basketball, you'd be able to field a team.
Yeah, totally.
What would be that one bit of advice that you would give yourself, let's say when you were, let's consider 16 is a pretty influential age. What would, Pat Woodcock today say to 16-year-old Pat Woodcock?
I think from a practical standpoint, I would tell him to start training a little bit earlier because I didn't really do a whole lot in high school. And when I first got to college, I was definitely behind the game a little bit. So it would have been interesting to see, what I could have done if I had not started behind the 8 ball a little bit when I got there. But more from a life thing, I think I would have told him just like, yeah, you're the smallest guy, but play with confidence. Like, always play with confidence because you have the ability. Don't doubt yourself. Put forward your best effort every time, and things are going to work out for you.
Right. Posturing is huge in life and business and sports as well, right? Puffing out that chest and being big.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And,
Now,
and it's not just about how people see you either. Like that translates into how you perform, right? When you carry yourself with confidence and you carry yourself with the chest out and all those things, like your performance will reflect that, as
right,
opposed to when you go in kind of slumped down and stuff like that.
right,
It's very much how you see yourself as much as how other people see you, if
right.
not more.
Okay. So now you've transitioned from football. You have that business and marketing background.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a super fit dude, and being healthy and diet and all that kind of stuff was already a very big part of your life. And you
Yeah.
turned CEO, the Elite Man Method, and now you're helping other people achieve their goals. You're saying, like, boy, you wish you knew the things then that you did now. What's
Yeah.
what's that number one thing that you think that people just in general are lacking, other than just motivation?
Yeah, motivation's a topic that we should dig into a little bit, but I think oftentimes they're just lacking a plan, and so probably like if you don't have a plan to follow, like you walk into the gym and you're like, okay, I'm here, so what should I do? And that can be a frustrating thing to do, and even if it's not the gym, okay, I want to get in better shape, I want to do this, I want to change my fitness and health. I don't know where to start. There's so much information floating around out there, diets and this workout plan and that, and like, where do I start? And so I think people get bogged down in that information, and they get like paralyzed by the analysis of everything, and they just
Right.
don't even get started. And so I think the biggest thing to do is, number one, just take action, do something. Doing something is better than doing nothing. But then I think the idea is to create a plan, have an idea of exactly what your goal looks like. It's no different than anything else, right? Business or education or whatever it is that you're doing, you got to know where you're going, and you got to know the steps you need to take to get there. And just showing up at the gym and doing random stuff or going out for a run twice a week is not necessarily going to do those things for you. So you got to kind of lay out that plan and know exactly what each step is to get you where you want to go.
Right. Corey, the last guest that I had on the podcast, um, he's a spiritual guide, and he was speaking on things in regards to people sometimes think that they have these huge problems, right? And there has to be like this huge solution. And that's not the case, opposed to small daily contributions, right? And
Yes,
if you just make
absolutely.
these small daily contributions over time, you will eventually
Yeah.
get that big result that you desire. So, number one, have a plan, right? So, what are
Yeah.
some of these small daily contributions that people can start making in their lives to get them on that right path?
Yeah. So the easiest ones, number one, like I said, just move in some capacity.
Mhm.
Start doing something more than you're doing now. If that's going for a walk every day, if that's going for a run, if that's going to the gym, cool. Start doing something, because it's better than doing nothing. Number two, from a nutrition side, it's important to know really what you're eating. So, just like in business, what gets measured gets improved. And
Mhm.
food is very much a part of that. If you don't know how much you're eating, then we don't know if you need to eat more or eat less or change this or change that, because we don't have that number. So track your food for a little while. It's tough at the beginning, but it's something that gives you a baseline so you know where you're at to begin with. And then the biggest thing that most people don't do is eat enough protein. And
Yeah.
so add protein to make sure at every meal, that's going to keep you fuller, that's going to help you keep muscle mass, that's going to help you be more anabolic in terms of being able to build some muscle and burn some fat and those type of things. And then another big one that most people overlook is go to sleep. Most people
Yes.
do not get enough sleep and do not get good quality sleep, and that honestly will shut down everything. So you can have the best nutrition plan and the best workout plan, if you're not getting the right amount of sleep, especially as we get older,
Mhm.
it's just not going to happen for you.
Now,
All the restoration and all the recovery and all the good things that happen for us happen when we sleep. So you got
right.
to
So does that just mean getting your 7, 8 hours of sleep a night, or does that mean being on a regular sleep cycle where you're getting those 7, 8 hours, or whatever it is that your body needs to rest properly?
Yeah, ideally, I mean, most adults are somewhere between 7 to 8, maybe 9 hours. And the best way to do it is to keep it consistent every day. So even on the weekends, you want to go to bed and wake up within about an hour of what you normally do during the week, because it allows your body to get used to that routine, and the restoration and the recovery and the brain action can all happen when it's supposed to, instead of it not knowing when you're going to wake up and when you're going to go to sleep and all those things. And yeah, you want to sleep basically create a bat cave in your room, like no lights on, no electronics,
Right.
windows shut, TV off, like all those things to make sure the sleep is as high quality as possible.
Okay. Now, I used to dibble dabble in nutrition through,
Yeah.
well, shake-based nutrition. I educated myself on a lot of it to help people achieve their wellness goals. Basically, the kind of guy that I was, I'm the stepping stone to get somebody to you. So you can, turn them into the chiseled body that they want, or just being the healthiest person possible, right? Because it's not necessarily about your shape, it's more how you feel. And I remember getting people to tell me what they ate, this and that. And this is going back to mindset. And like, I can only imagine how strong yours is asking people to keep track of their food. And then like, somewhere in there, I see like bag of Oreos. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, how can I help this person?
Not even one Oreo, but bag of Oreos.
The whole bag. So like, I appreciate your honesty and your transparency. Thank you very much. Right. Now you come from a team background, right? Like playing team sports, and the weakest link, right, is like, that's going to be where a team falls. And so you have this team mentality, and you have this individual that's just not on that level with you. And I don't know how many of those types of clients that maybe you have now, opposed to maybe when you were starting out. But when you're wanting it more than they want it themselves, that must be a difficult place for you to be in.
It is definitely frustrating, and I think it's at this point, as a coach and as a trainer and those type of things, it's really about education. So I think a lot of people eat the bag of Oreos, obviously because it tastes good and they want it and stuff, but they don't necessarily know exactly what they're doing to their body when they do that. And they don't know the difference between eating this versus eating that. And so, when we talk about, okay, how do you want to change your body and how do you want to improve your health and those kind of things, it's like, okay, cool. This is what food does for you. This is what this type of food does negatively to you. This is what training does for you. And I think when you are able to help them understand the impact of the decisions they make, it makes it a lot easier for them to make the right ones. And, none of us are perfect. And, I tell my clients all the time, like at this point, none of us are going to the Olympics. None of us are getting ready to step on a bodybuilding stage or anything like that. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's another big problem that people have. I've gained all this weight, so in order to lose it, I have to exercise every day and I have to eat perfect and I have to do that. It doesn't have to be perfect. And trying to be perfect is oftentimes going to sabotage you because it's not realistic and not sustainable. You just have to make a couple smart changes and make them consistently. It doesn't have to be all the time, but consistently make the right decision and create the new habits and the new choices. And over time, those things are going to give you the result that you want. It's not about being perfect and overhauling your entire life. It's about making a number of small implementable changes that add up to big things over time.
Right. So let's talk about a couple of these things that I think people don't understand how bad they are. Now, I cycle through keto and stuff like that. And the one thing that I see all the time is, people saying, well, what can I have to drink? Like as far as an alcoholic beverage, that's not as bad as, right? Yeah. Not realizing how bad alcohol is poison. It's absolute poison. Explain.
It's delicious poison, but it's poison.
It is delicious poison. I love my beer, and I too, like, I'm just looking for, healthier alternatives. But let's say for the person that sits down there and they have that beer, not thinking that it's doing all that much damage. So just number one, how quickly something like that metabolizes.
Yeah, the thing with alcohol is it overtakes everything else, right? So the body prioritizes metabolizing alcohol and trying to clear it out of your system before it does anything else. So any food that you eat or anything like that, it just sits there and does not get digested properly and does not get, put towards burning fat or building muscle or any of that stuff. The body is only concerned with getting rid of the alcohol. So those, and generally we don't make great food choices when we're having drinks anyways. So that food that you're eating, is not doing you any good at all. And then in addition, because the alcohol takes such priority, people generally drink it in the evening, it messes up your sleep. And we just talked a few minutes ago about how important sleep is. So now you've messed up your nutrition and your digestion. You've messed up your sleep. when you mess up your sleep, that messes up your hormones. So you wake up the next day and what are you? You're starving and you crave all the foods that are bad for you because your hormones are all out of whack from the alcohol and not getting enough sleep. So it becomes this vicious circle of, oh, it's just a couple drinks. Yeah. And there's just a few calories in them. Yeah. But it goes beyond just the calories that you're taking in. It shuts down everything else. It shuts down your sleep. It makes you eat more food the next day. And so it becomes a vicious circle of, you know, less than optimal function of your body, and then poor food choices and all the things that go along with it. So, you know, I think for a lot of us, you know, alcohol is part of life and everybody enjoys to have a good drink every now and then, but it's about understanding those things. Again, like I talked about education. So maybe you drink a little bit earlier in the day or in the evening at least so that it can get out of your system before you go to bed. You try not to eat while you're drinking, or you make very different food choices around alcohol when you know you're going to have a couple of drinks. And you just can't do it every day.
Okay. So now let's talk about, let's say, sweets. People love their sugars. Oh, I'm just going to have a candy bar. Oh, I'm just going to have a candy bar. So why should someone not have that candy bar?
Well, I mean, it all depends on goals, right? And so, and it depends on what else you're eating along with that candy bar, right? Okay. The problem I think a lot of people have is, okay, I want to have this candy bar, but what did I have for breakfast? I had cereal or bagel or something like that. And then I had a sandwich and stuff for lunch. And, you know, I haven't had any vegetables all day, and then very little protein as well. And now I just add a candy bar on top of that. That's where, you know, metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes and all that kind of stuff, because you're just eating carbohydrates all day. There's nothing innately wrong with carbohydrates. The problem is we just eat too many of them, and we don't eat enough of the protein and fats that our body really needs in order to keep it functioning well, and for us to be able to use those carbohydrates better. So, you know, when you're eating a better diet overall, you can fit in a candy bar, or you can fit in a piece of cake, or I love pie. So I try to fit in a piece of pie when I can. And so, but I also eat like 200 grams of protein every day.
Wow.
And I eat vegetables with lunch and midday snack and with dinner. And I don't eat cereal and toast and bagel and all that kind of stuff. So, I think when you know what you're eating already and you know what you need to fuel yourself, and you make the choices that reflect what your goals are and that kind of stuff, then you can find a place to fit that candy bar in. And that's one of the things that my clients are shocked about, is that no food is off the table. We just have to fit it into what else you're eating and make sure that it fits with what your goals are at the same time.
Yeah, people need to get woke on cereal, because cereal's just shit. It is so bad. And apparently, like, it's like 90% of households, or like 90 to 95% of Canadian households, have cereal in their pantry. It's sugar.
Well, I mean, that's what we grew up with, right? Like that was breakfast every day. And so, you know, you heart healthy and all, you know, whole grain and blah, blah, blah. Right. Well, I mean, when you don't know any better, you don't know any better.
Right. They feed that to cows, but they put that in a box for to eat with milk from a cow.
From a cow.
Anyways,
and a little sugar on the top. Yeah.
It's disturbing to me. The one thing I used to do for the people that I used to help in regards to just maintaining a more healthy diet was just saying no to things sometimes, right? Yeah. And always going for what you really, really like. So I'll just give you an example. I always used to use pizza, right? Someone has an office party, there's pizza there, and you're trying to watch what you're eating. And it's a certain brand of pizza that you're not even that big on, but it's there and you want to eat it, right? I always say, if you can say no to that pizza, number one, good for you. Number two, you've pushed aside a craving. Plus, it wasn't even something that you really wanted. It was something that was just brought to you, right?
You're right.
And then third, you might forget that you wanted pizza after the fact, right? Yep. But then to reward yourself, I never say cheat meals. I'm always like reward meals. So rewarding yourself for not having that spur of the moment pizza, go to your favorite pizza place. So you don't have another piece of pizza like you may have eaten at the office that you don't even like, and now you just want pizza even more, right? Yep. So being able to say no, only get the bad foods that you want from the places that you really like, so you know that you'll be satisfied.
Totally.
Not bad.
And I think absolutely great advice, because it's just being conscious of what you're putting in your mouth, right? Like you said, I didn't even want pizza. It's just in front of me. I don't need to react to the fact that it's in front of me, right? It's not part of my plan today. I don't need that. I wasn't thinking about that. But yeah, maybe I do want some pizza, but I'll go get, the one that I really like and really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because if you eat that one, you're not even going to like it, and then you're going to feel bad about eating it anyway.
Yeah, I feel like garbage.
Right? Yeah.
That was me all the time. I'm like, oh, why did I? So
I think we all have those moments.
what's your favorite kind of pie? You mentioned pie, like your eyes are, ooh, pie.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I really like cherry is really good. I love pumpkin at Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff. So I really don't have a favorite. I pretty much like them all.
Just pie.
Which is a problem.
Right. Yeah. So you have a big family. You're a family man. How much of that family was established while you were playing football?
Really only my oldest was born while I was playing.
Okay.
She was born in 2007, and then 2008 was my last season. So everybody else has been born after the fact.
Right. Everyone, that's what you call them. Hey, everybody else.
Hey, everybody else. Yeah. That's it, pretty much.
Right. And so
Hey, you guys.
how old are the kids?
14, 11, 7, and 5.
Oh, wow. That's wild. And do they take a liking to sports?
Yeah, for the most part, my oldest daughter, she's big into lacrosse and basketball, and track. But with everything going on, we've lost track for the last 2 or 3 years now.
Right.
My son really likes soccer and basketball as well. He's the 11-year-old, and then my 7-year-old daughter started playing soccer last year, and she's in her just started lacrosse like last week. And then the 5-year-old, he's been into soccer, and he's now starting lacrosse as well. So. It's
Wow.
We're pretty active. We try to keep them occupied as much as we can, and obviously, with my background and my wife was very athletic growing up as well, so we like to get them involved in as many things as we can, expose them to things, and let them find out what they like.
Right. And what's the biggest lesson your kids have taught you in life?
Oh man, it's all about patience, man. It's all about patience, and as we've kind of discussed, I come from a mindset of like, when I want something, I work for it and I get it, and that's it. And I try to, for lack of a better term, try to impose my will upon it until I, have success with it and do it. And that's just not the way kids work.
Right.
They're going to be on their own timeline and their own mindset and their own whatever. And you got to be patient and adapt and figure out how each one is different from the other ones. And it's, that you talk about ego, that has been very humbling. Right.
And what's your top attribute you believe that has trickled down on them?
That's a great question. I think my oldest is starting to figure out she's been very talented all the way along, but she's getting to the age now where she knows that hard work is what's going to get me to the next level and where I want to go with that stuff. I think the other ones are still a little young to have figured that out yet, but I kind of see that in her in terms of the effort and the focus that she puts in practice, and kind of that innate competitiveness that she just wants to be better. She just wants to be better. She doesn't want to just be somebody running around on the field. She wants to be the best one on the field. So I think that that will serve her and them well in any avenue in life, right? Beyond just sports. Yeah.
Now, I also want to ask you what your ideal client is. And before you do, I have not been a client of yours, but I do want to vouch for you based on what I've seen, because I follow you on LinkedIn, you're on my social medias, all that kind of stuff. And if people haven't figured it out already by listening to this podcast, Pat knows his stuff. Not only does he know it, he lives it, which is very big. Sure. He's an incredibly articulate guy. You're very well-rounded, and your mindset. I'm telling you, if someone didn't lose a pound, which is obviously not the goal, but if they didn't lose a pound and they just got to spend some time around you, it's worth whatever this guy is charging. So what is your ideal client? How can they find you, and what can you do for them?
First of all, man, that's awesome. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. So, right now, my ideal client is guys like us, 35, 40, 50 years old, busy with business and family and kids, maybe was in shape at one time and let it slide, maybe never has been in the shape that he really wants to be in, but is at the point now where he realizes the value of being in shape and being healthy and wanting to be operating at his best and providing the best he can for his family and his business and whatever. So those are basically the guys that I work with, and I work with each one individually to make sure that we've got them on the right type of workout plan, the right type of nutrition plan, and obviously trying to fit it all into everybody's busy lifestyle and make it fit and work beyond a 12-week program or a 6-month program or whatever, but something that is sustainable and implementable for them in the long term. I am not a quick fix guy in terms of, I just want to help you lose 20 pounds and then you can do whatever you want. Like, I want to help you lose that 20 pounds and then either keep it off or lose another 5 or lose another 5, and be able to maintain that. I'm not big on the yo-yo stuff. At this age, at this point in our life, I think that's really hard on the body and the mind, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't have mental energy to waste on that kind of stuff. Like, I need to be at my best all the time. And I know that I am at my best when I feel great, when I'm exercising, when I'm sleeping well, when I'm eating well. That allows me to show up for my family and show up for my clients and be operating at my highest levels. And I think that's what all guys really want, is to just be operating at their highest level and their highest capacity, and that's why it's such a struggle, because nobody wants to put themselves first and take time for themselves to take care of themselves. They want to be able to provide for their family and take care of their business and all that kind of stuff. And people don't realize that you have to do this before you can do that.
Right. Once a champion, always a champion. You got that champion mindset, and we talked about the importance of having a circle. Well, why not toss this champion into your circle and get that champion mindset working for you too? Pat Woodcock, thank you for being on the program.
Man, my pleasure. Great talk.
And if people want to find you online, where do they go?
Yeah, probably. I'm on any of the social medias. Instagram is Elite Coach, all one word. You can just search up my name on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I'm on all 3 of those.
Okay, and I'll make sure to put the links inside the description as well. So again, thank you for your time, and thank you for watching yet another edition of the Launchpad Podcast online at launchpadpodcast.com, and subscribe right now or I'll punch you in the esophagus. You take care, be well, and love simply because you can.